Hello there, I'm Scotty, and you're not. And we are back in the Sequel-A-Thon, finishing up the final 6 movies, and we're now on Fright Night Part 2. And now I think you're wondering, Scotty, the hint you gave us at the end of the last review was not for Fright Night Part 2, and there is an explanation for that. Originally, it was going to be Crocodile Dundee 2 was going to be the next movie, but I got home last night from when I'm recording this, Sunday night, Easter's, and I was tired. So I decided I was going to knock it out. I was going to watch it, put out the review for this morning. I was too tired. I was like, I just want to relax. And so I did. And so I decided I was going to watch something that I could just watch during work with, my break and in the van and stuff. And so Fright Night Part 2 is on YouTube, because you can't find a DVD or Blu-ray anywhere, and if you do, it's very expensive. It's very hard to find. So it's on YouTube's. Watch it on there. I did. So yeah. So the next one I will do is Crocodile Dundee 2. No hint. We'll pop that in a little bit here. But Fright Night Part 2. Just to catch you up, I loved the first film. I thought it was fantastic. This film has elements. There's some good things. You got the actor who played Charlie coming back. You have Roddy McDowall coming back to play Peter Vincent. And you have a good director in Tommy Lee Wallace, who directed Halloween 3 and the 1990 miniseries It, among other things. So you have a good director. You have the two main characters from the first film back. Solid. And, excuse me, I think as a follow-up, it's decent. 3 years have passed, and Charlie now believes, thanks to a therapist, that everything from the first film was all in his mind. I've heard some people say this is a retcon and that the first film didn't exist. People are like, oh, there's retconning from the first film. There's continuity errors because of this. No. If you pay attention, it's not a continuity error. It's not a retcon. It's this therapist has convinced him that everything from the first film was in his mind, and that Jerry Dandridge was just a cultist and a serial murderer who kidnapped Ed and Amy. And I'm assuming, they don't say it so many words, I'm assuming supposedly Ed was turned to join this cult, and that's why, and they say that Peter killed Ed, evil Ed, and but it was in self-defense. So they kind of tiptoeing around him hating him for killing his friend, even though it was convince him. Yeah. Peter Vincent is still the host of Fright Night and now fully believes in vampires. Charlie no longer believes. She has a new girlfriend named Alex, because apparently they couldn't get Amanda Pierce to come back to play Amy, so they just brought in a new character, which after 3 years, you don't always end up with your high school sweetheart, so that's understandable. And now there's a new set of vampires who live in the same building as Peter Vincent, led by Regine. There's Regine, and then there's this roller skating vampire. There's a character similar to the caretaker from the first film. I don't remember his name. Was it Terry? So I don't know. But he's played by Brian Thompson. You may know from movies like Cobra. And there is also a werewolf played by John Grease, who you may know as Roger Lioness, Ben's father from Lost, and a bunch of other things. And I guess he was also the werewolf in Monster Squad. Wolfman's got nards. But yeah, an interesting fact about this character of Louis, played by John Grease. It was supposed to be Evil Ed, but the actor who played Evil Ed decided to star in 967 Evil, I believe is the name of the movie. 976 Evil, whatever. And so did not return, so they just made it an entirely different character, which is fine. Uh, but this is Regine's little posse. Charlie sees Regine when he's leaving Peter's place. He sees signs. They sort of repeat the first film. They see him carrying coffin-sized things into the building, and he just kind of shakes it off because he no longer believes in it. But he now starts to have fantasies or dreams about Regine. She shows up in his dorm room, or he's making out with his girlfriend, and she turns into her, and he gets more passionate, and his girlfriend freaks out. And yeah, he's seeing her everywhere, and he has this cut, and when he's shaving, he cuts himself. I'm like, oh, they pointed at it. He's like, ow! There's a Band-Aid on it, and I'm like, well, that's gonna come back, and it does. That's how she sucks his blood and turns him slowly. She doesn't actually bite him. There's also, he has a friend in college that gets turned somehow. I don't know. It's really weird. It was an hour and 40-some minutes. But, yeah. So she starts to seduce him and try to turn him. He's slowly turning into a vampire where he can't, in the sunlight, he has sunglasses, and he's, and he goes to his therapist, and his therapist tells him the dreams are just psychosomatic. They're in his head. He's fantasized about this woman, and he imagines it's perfectly normal to fantasize about someone, especially a gorgeous woman. So, But from the beginning, when he's talking to him, and this guy's, oh, it was repressed, and you made it up, and it was, about the Jerry Danders thing, I'm saying he's a vampire. He's going to be revealed to be a vampire, and he's in on it in some way, shape, or form. Although we're not necessarily sure if he's in on it or if he's just another vampire. I don't know. Regine is... Peter Vincent is fired from his show without him knowing, and Regine takes over the show, and it's implied that she, seduced... vampires have that seducing thing. She seduced the producer to take over the show. Peter, again, we kind of retread where Charlie sees Regine attack his friend, so he gets Peter and they go to fight her, but they're led to believe it's just a performance piece, and because Charlie is still kind of brainwashed, he believes it. But Peter uses his mirror and sees that there's no reflections, and he sees people in the corner getting bit by vampires, so he's keen and tries to attack Regine live on TV, and so he gets taken to the nut house, where he meets another crazy person who believes him, because this person is crazy, but it comes in handy. And then Charlie gets kidnapped by Regine and her posse, and there's some discussion, even though he doesn't believe in vampires and stuff anymore, he still watches horror movies, and he criticizes his girlfriend for not watching horror movies and not even reading Dracula, and then she reads Dracula, and he's like, see? She's like, it's a good book. He's like, see, I told you. And then he gets kidnapped. And she gets therapist to come help get Peter Vincent out. But it turns out he's a vampire, because of course he is, but she steals his ID after she kills him, or he kills himself. She stabs him, he says it's not, she didn't put the stake in far enough, then he falls forward and dies. I don't know. She goes to the asylum to get Peter Vincent out, but they eventually figure out she's not who she says he is. Power goes out. They're able to escape, and then they go to save Charlie. He's sort of turned, and he almost attacks Peter Vincent, but they wrap him in this weird cloak thingy. They dispatch Louis and Brian Thompson, who is covered in worms, so I think he's like the guy from the first film, and the roller vamp, and then it's down to just Regine, who is revealed to be Jerry's sister. And she turned Charlie to get revenge, I guess. Revenge by giving you eternal life. I guess, some people's blood is one thing, but when you turn to a vampire, you don't really care anymore, so I don't know. But Peter is able to take care of Regine by using a mirror to reflect the sun, burn her, and she dies. And then you end with Charlie and Alex just wondering if there are more other vampires out there. That's how it ends. I thought this was pretty good. Decent effects on par. Not better than the original, but decent. I thought the direction was good. I thought that this was a decent follow-up to the first film. That's good. You know, Evil Ed's missing, and, you know, they kind of... I think, you know, from what I've read, they wanted to bring him back. Like I said, the actor, Stephen Joffrey, he didn't want to come back, because maybe he wanted to, but he opted to do 967 Evil, or whatever it's called, instead. And so now we had the character of Louis, which is... I like John Grease, but it was fine without him. Yeah, I'll give it middle of the road. I thought it was decent. No, I'll give it a pretty good. I thought it was pretty good. Not as good as the original, which I think I watched it again since I watched it the first time. I think did I give it a to the moon? Because if I didn't, it ought to be. Because I love the first one. Even more the second time I watched it. So, you know, it's 80s gold, I'd say. But they actually, I don't know if they're doing it anymore, but they were going to do a third one. It was supposed to come out in 1990 called Fright Night 3. But the producer that was going to help with it was Jose Menendez. And if you know Jose Menendez is, you know that not a lot of good things happened to him around this time. And that actually messed up the release of this film. And that's why it's not really widely known, or why you get a copy of it on DVD or Blu-ray. Because it's kind of just out there and you have to go on YouTube to watch it. But Roddy McDowall really wanted to do it. In recent years, though, and Roddy McDowall passed away in 1998, so 10 years after this movie. But in recent years, Tom Holland, the director of the original one, not Spider-Man, has been saying that he wants to come back, and he wants to bring back Charlie. He wants to bring back Charlie and Evil Ed, and he wants to call it Fright Night Resurrection. And it's called Resurrection because they want to bring back Jerry Dandridge and the other guy from the dead, but like Jerry Dandridge is almost 80 years old. Like the actor Chris Sarandon is almost 80 years old, so I don't know how that would work. Like an 80-year-old vampire, unless they either recast or do like a de-aging thing like they do in Marvel if they got enough good CGI. I don't know how that would work. And even the actor who plays Charlie is kind of, it's like in the 50s or 60s or whatever, but yeah. I don't know. I think I'd be up for it. For a third one. I don't know. I have the remake, and that's going to be in my remake review series, whatever I decide to call it. But yeah, this was pretty good. I enjoyed it for what it was. That was a decent follow-up. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on Fright Night Part 2? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.